Welcome to the first episode of the Humble Hustle podcast.
Let's go.
I'm your host, Nick Jones, sitting with my co-host,
Kayla Ebner. I'm here.
There we go.
We're out here.
Not gonna lie, I've done this before, but 5 seconds ago before we hit record, I'm very nervous for some reason.
I have never done this before. I had a radio show in college, like very briefly for a very short period of time, and I did it by myself. And that was a mistake because talking to yourself is really hard. So I'm excited to see what it's going to be like with another person in the room, not just talking to myself.
Right. So yeah, we figured you heard our first little kind of announcement video. If you haven't listened to that, just go listen. It's like 60 seconds. Go listen to that before this. But that kind of gave you an elevator pitch of what this podcast is going to be about. So in this first episode, we figured we would kind of talk about ourselves. And to start things off, let's just talk about why we are starting a podcast.
Yeah.
Do you want to start or do you want me to?
I'll let you kick it off. This
Okay.
is your idea,
It was my
$1 million idea.
So I've wanted to make a podcast for years, literally years. The funny thing is, when we met, I've had this idea since Wequassett.
No way.
The first time it came up was on the drive home with me and Alex in the car from the Wequassett shoot.
Oh yeah, I remember you told me that.
So this has been 3 years in the making. I actually did start a podcast last year. So I have had like a taste of what it feels like to podcast. And I just love it. Like for some reason, I feel like normal people in the world wouldn't assume I'm like a big talker. And I'm normally not, I would say, but get me talking about the right thing. And I just love talking.
I feel that.
So just sitting here doing literally nothing but talking to someone, I just enjoy a lot. So I was like, I want to start a podcast again. Like I need to podcast.
Yeah. And when you came to me with the idea, I don't think I've told you this. When you initially were like, "Oh, would you want to do this?"
Dude, I thought I was going to like scare you away. I was like,
my initial thought was like, "Hell no, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that."
that's hilarious.
And
I kind of thought, I was like afraid you would think that.
That's kind of a theme for me. In the past, I've been, we'll get into this a little bit, but I have been very scared of like starting new things. I'm very much a creature of habit. I like my routine.
Okay.
But then I started thinking about it and I was like, you know what? Like we work so well together when we work on projects, whether we like plan them out really well or it's like a kind of a one-off shoot that we're not necessarily going that deep into planning. Like I just feel like we jive very well. And why not try something new? Like take a chance.
That's funny because like the way I was looking at it, I was like nervous to ask you. It honestly felt like, in a relationship, like saying something like not this deep, like kind of like saying I love you too soon. Like that's the vibe it felt. I was like,
yeah,
we haven't worked on that many projects
no,
together.
We haven't.
We've only worked together like 3, maybe 4 times.
Yes.
And I'm springing this question on her to like start a whole thing together.
A whole ass podcast.
And it was so random too. Like we were just doing some fall foliage fun shooting.
Yes.
And I just randomly was like, yo, I got a question.
Yeah. It was really, that's true. Because the first time we worked together, it was like the first and only time for a while. That was pre-COVID? Wequassett.
I think it was like, wasn't it summer of 2020?
Oh, yeah.
Or no, 2021.
Oh, so it was like mid-COVID. Yeah. So, and that was like the first and only time we really worked together. And then we had this kind of big break, this big chunk of time, and then we reconnected after.
We didn't see each other for 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years plus. Like,
and you're like, you want to start a podcast?
That's why I was like, oh my God, she's going to say no.
Initially, it was definitely like, it's just the fear that got into me of like, I'm not going to be good at this. But just like anything new, it just takes time, I think. And it's really fun already. I'm having a great time. So
Okay, perfect.
This is good. Yeah, it worked out. We're killing it.
Let's see. So let's kind of get into, we're going to keep it somewhat brief because I feel like down the road in the next couple months, we'll probably do like individual deep dives of our stories. But for this first episode, we figured we would just give you guys a glimpse of who we are and like how we got into the creative industry.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So do you want me to start again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So the abridged version, my friends and I in high school used to, go to Boston a lot just for fun, like after school, like on the weekend. and a couple of my friends had cameras. So they would bring them and like just take some fun photos of us as like the group and stuff. Very much a hobby. Like they had no intention of doing anything with it. They just happened to have a cheap little camera. And it was fun. Like we would like wear nice clothes and like think we're cool as like high school kids walking around Cambridge.
Yep.
But then I was like, that's pretty cool. I want one. So then when I graduated high school, I was like about to burp. I was like trying to hold it in. Anyway, so after I graduated high school, like my present for graduation was a camera. It was the Canon T6, not even the T6i, the T6. Like that's it, super basic.
wow.
It was like a $400 camera.
So you started as a Canon user, huh?
I did. Damn. So all summer, I just took random photos, you know, the classic flowers and whatnot. I was like, this is so cool. And then going into college that year, I chose my roommate because you were able to do that.
Yep.
And I chose him because he was a photographer. So I was like, all right, he's like clearly more advanced than me. Hopefully I can learn something from him.
Smart.
Yeah, I thought so.
Never be the smartest person in the room.
And
Always
then when I met with him and like we hung out and we ended up being roommates, he was going to Acadia National Park in Maine and he asked me to go with him. So I did. And it was a trip solely for like photo taking.
Beautiful
So we were just
spot.
running around for like 3 days doing absolutely nothing but taking photos. And I was still on my cheap ass camera, but sorry, I forgot we're trying not to swear.
I said I swore twice already. So.
Oh, I didn't even notice. We're going to try and keep this PG, but
Yeah.
you know, if it slips out, it slips out.
Yep, it does.
But I was still on my cheap camera, got back after the trip, and I was like, okay, I've never felt anything like that before. Like that, just the feeling of running around doing nothing but take photos. I wanted to feel that again. So I ended up upgrading my camera soon after that to a Canon 80D, very intermediate camera. And then kind of rocked with that for a little while. I learned video on that camera. So Sam Colder was one of these like big travel YouTube people in like 2013 to 2018 maybe.
So
And
long ago.
Yeah, I know, right?
So old right now.
So in 2017, he posted a video of his 2016, like his year as like a recap. It was called My Year 2016. And I was blown away. Like the cool editing, the cool, like just cool clips. I was like, I want to make that. Like that is what I want to do. So that singular video was the one thing that made me want to make videos. Like there was nothing else. It was
That moment.
Like that one video influenced my
Wow.
entire life.
That's awesome.
So I was like, all right, let me
should tell
try
him.
to make this. So I tried to do my own versions. Obviously, it didn't come out nearly as good. But I eventually got an A7S III, which is what I'm still rocking today, which is fully for like video stuff. I've kind of diverted into more video than photo. I used to say that I'm not a photographer. I'm just a guy who takes photos.
Ah, I like that.
But-
Okay.
It's kind of still true.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to get back into photography a bit more,
Okay.
but my forte is still video for sure.
Yep.
I did end up going to school for it. I was initially going for wildlife conservation biology at the
Wild.
University of Rhode Island.
That is one of the wildest facts about you.
Well, I was a huge Steve Irwin fan.
Oh my God, me too.
So I was literally going to do some wildlife animal related stuff. Halfway through, I was like,
Yep.
nope, I'm either going to drop out or pursue video. And I was this close to dropping out. I don't know if I told you this or
I
not.
don't think you did.
So freshman year, that roommate I chose, he ended up dropping out after freshman
no.
year to pursue photography.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, I have the option. Like I could drop out, but it's like the way I was raised, it's just drilled into me the normal way of life. You go to college, you get a job, that's life.
Yes.
And at the time it was kind of a struggle to go against the grain at that point. But I was really thinking, I was like, this is what I want to do. I know for a fact I don't need to go to college for this if I didn't want to. So I came back for sophomore year, and then on day one, so I lived off campus.
Okay.
My sophomore, junior, and
Oh,
senior
wow.
year
Okay.
on the same house because like
Oh.
URI is nice. You could just live in beach houses.
Oh, yeah, you went to URI. Right down the street.
So basically, the first night I moved in with my friends, I was with one of them. We were literally staying like in the hallway or in the bathroom. It was like the first night, 9-10 o'clock at night. And I was like, I'm dropping out after this. Like I told her, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is it.
That's crazy.
Because it was already in my head. I was like, pretty sure this is it.
Wow.
But then I went the logical route of talking to people, different types of people, who graduated and loved it, people who graduated but regretted it, people who did drop out and loved it, and then people who dropped out and regretted dropping out. So I tried to like gather all these like inputs, like a smart.
Yes.
I was really thinking ahead, I thought.
Yes.
I was like, let me be logical here.
Yep.
And I took all the inputs, and then at the end of the day, I chose to stay.
Okay.
Do I regret it? Kind of, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do have a degree in film media.
Okay.
Don't need it. Learned
Yeah.
in basically nothing. But it is what it is. Now, I started a production company right after college with a business partner. I grew that for a couple years, about 2 years. Just kind of recently, I chose to branch off, break away from that. I now run my own production company completely by myself called Ascend Studios. And here I am.
Here you are. Well, my biggest, most important question for you is what made you switch from Canon to Sony? I need to know.
It was honestly the video.
Just you did research and you were like, oh, Sony's for video. All right.
So at the
I'll give you
time,
that.
it was the Sony a7S III was about to come out, but the Canon R5 was also about to come out. And I was already a Canon person at the time. So I was like, okay, it's a big decision here.
Yep. It's honestly the worst. It's so
And I
hard.
think the Canon came out first, like just by a couple weeks. And people were talking about the overheating issues, which actually ended up to be like not really an issue at the end of the day. But just that scared me a little bit. So I just went to Sony and I've never looked back. Yeah. I don't
That's
plan to either.
crazy.
I think I'm going to stick with Sony for a while.
Yeah. I mean, you use them and a couple other of my friends use them and I've only heard good things. So yeah, it's just kind of a preference thing.
It is. It's totally
Yeah.
preference. Like all these cameras, especially now, 2023, 2024, like they're all good.
Yes.
You
They all have
really
their
cannot go
different
wrong.
strengths. Yeah, there's no one that's like perfect, I wouldn't say.
There's never
But
going to be.
Nikon's just not it though.
Yeah. You'll never
not
never catch me slipping with the potato.
Oh man. Well, that's interesting. So you were going to drop out.
I
and
really
then
was, yeah.
You gathered some info and you were like, let me just see this through. You saw it through.
I'm not going to lie. The real reason I stayed was because my roommate.
Okay.
Like I lived in a house. There was like 4 of us at the time.
Yep.
And my one roommate, Courtney, if she's listening, but she was the real reason I stayed, like just to hang out and like live with her.
OG. Yeah, I would definitely say I didn't know I was going to be doing this at all when I was in college. We'll get to that. But I definitely didn't need my degree either for what I'm doing now. Like I think I learned so much more through my experiences in life and like my internships and jobs and like doing it on my own rather than like in the major itself. So I think, yeah, I definitely didn't like need to go, but I'm so glad I went. Like,
Okay,
just
yeah,
for the
so
experiences alone.
Let's rewind. What did you go to school for?
I went to school for journalism.
Okay.
So I wanted to be like the New York Times, like hitting the streets, getting the stories,
See, that's so interesting
catching
to
the
me.
bad guys. I still kind of do have a longing for that. Like I want to do something meaningful and purposeful with what I do,
That's
like my creative brain.
Admirable.
And I think, I have some goals next year to work with, some charities and nonprofits and whatnot. So I think that's going to like fill the hole in my heart for that. But I
we
do
go.
still really love and respect journalists, the good ones, for what they do. But I also have always had this passion for having a camera in my hands. Like since I was really young, I remember there's a couple really cringy photos of me with like the little square digital camera. Like, so since I was young, I just loved it. And obviously, as a kid growing up, you have a bunch of hobbies and some of them you grow out of and, some of them you stick with. And the photography was one that really just stuck with me. So, I have your typical story arc. I ran around, took pictures of flowers and loved it. And, I would do photo shoots with my friends. And I think it was either late middle school or early high school, my dad got me my first DSLR. And it was like,
So you started before I did. Like
yeah,
middle
I was
school,
early.
I was not a creative person in school ever.
Okay. What was your like strength, would you say?
I was like a science and math nerd.
Oh,
Like,
dang.
dude, pottery was supposed to be the fun creative class in high school.
Yep.
I didn't even take that.
Oh my
like
God.
nothing creative drew to
Wow.
me. Like, I was like, I don't want to do any of that. But then here I am being a creative person.
Oh, even the most basic of multiple choice, or not multiple choice, what is that? Multiplication math. Can't do it. Not now, but like back then I was like,
I probably
no.
can't now.
Oh my God. No, math nowadays is crazy. It's not even, no, we don't want to even talk about
The
that.
only math I do is accounting math.
Yeah, exactly, right? We have to do some math as business owners. But yeah, I've always like wanted to be creative. I've never been a math
Interesting.
person, never science. Those were not my strengths. I was always after school studying with the teacher,
really?
like tutoring for those kinds of classes. Yeah, it was bad.
Honestly, I cheated my way through high school. Let's be real.
Don't we all like a little bit?
Oh, I did not a little bit, a lot. Like, it's funny because my teachers knew, like 100%, they knew. There was
You
an
weren't
AP
sneaky
calc
with
class. I sat next to my best friend because he was like the smartest one in the room. And I was just like looking over at his thing. And she would literally make eye contact with me during the exam and just like do nothing. I'm just
Oh,
like,
man.
all right,
Thank
keep
God.
going.
Well, hey, we made it. We're here. Yeah, so I've always really liked doing stuff like that. I was in chorus. I did band for a hot minute. Like,
So no.
it's always been kind of my thing, just like more of a creative brain mindset. And so when I was graduating high school, I was like, well, what am I going to do? And I looked at some photography programs, and I didn't want to commit fully to a photography program because what I was finding was a lot of them are very artsy. And I didn't necessarily like the abstract kind of like
I don't
artsy
either.
side of photography. Like I liked taking pictures of people and like landscapes and stuff. So, which can be artsy and abstract, but that wasn't necessarily the way I wanted to go.
The way I look at it is like schools, colleges, almost for the arts, like photography specifically, they basically train you to become a starving artist.
Yes.
Like,
Oh my God,
that's
yeah.
the type of content they
100%.
train you to create. And it's
Yeah.
like no one wants to make that.
Right. 100%. Yeah. So I was like, what am I going to do? And another strong subject of mine was English. I was pretty decent at writing. So I was like, oh, I'll go and do journalism or communications or something. And I did a whole bunch of college tours. I drove my parents crazy because we would go on all these tours and I was never really like jazzed about it. So I wouldn't give them much of a reaction when we went to tour the campuses. But then I stepped foot on Roger Williams and I was like, oh, this is it. Like they tell you, you'll know when you get to a college that you like are gonna like and feel comfortable and feel at home. And that was true for me. Roger Williams was like, that was where it was for me.
Interesting. Because I know people say that. I don't think I felt that.
Yeah.
I genuinely, people have asked me this all the time. My sister did go to school at URI as well.
Okay.
And she was there my freshman year before she graduated.
Oh, got it.
But
Okay.
people were like, is that the reason you came? And I'm like, no, but I genuinely don't remember why I chose URI.
Yeah. Some people are not as, I think it's not as like emotional for some people, you know? And you did end up maybe potentially wanting to drop out. So,
Well, I was initially about to commit to UMass Amherst.
oh, all right.
And then last minute, I changed my mind
Oh, all right.
for some reason that is still unknown to me.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah, like for me, it was just a feeling. So that's where I ended up going. And when I was touring, I met with some of the journalism professors who talked to me about the program, and that really just solidified it for me. So I went for journalism, and I think that shaped me in two ways, my college experience. One was the major. So taking a bunch of journalism classes, like I did broadcast journalism where you were like pretending to be on TV and all that. We would record spots and everything. And then you also did a lot of like the writing, traditional, journalism stories. But what really kind of got me into the photography side of it was my experience as on the student newspaper, the Hawks Herald. So I started as a staff photographer my freshman year, and my senior year, I'd worked my way up to editor-in-chief. I was running the ship. And that was like the most fun thing that I could have ever done in college was do that. So I was always taking photos, and I got really involved with the sports photography. So we were D3, so you can get on the field, you can get access to everything.
Yeah, I wish I was able to do that more.
Yeah, it was so great. And, you know, we didn't have a football team, but like a lot of our sports were really good. Like our women's basketball team was awesome. Men's soccer was great. Men's basketball was awesome. So like we really like had a great athletics, like I feel like fan base where our school was, you know, rah team spirit for.
But it was
for
D3,
our
you
sports.
said?
Yeah.
Are they like top of D3 at least?
Yeah, I think so. We did pretty good. We did pretty good. So I was able to just, you know, I really fell in love with like action and sports photography at college. And it morphed into like my love for fitness and fitness photography my junior and senior year. So those two things, like they just really shaped, I think, who I was as a creative and got me into like, I want to do less with writing and more with my camera, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
In my creative, you know, arc. And after that, I got an internship back home at Business West magazine. My junior and senior year, I interned there as a staff writer. So after college, when I graduated, they offered me a job, a full-time job. And in journalism, it's really, really hard to get a job after school.
Yeah, so they offer you one, you might as well take it.
I'm taking it. So I was like, cool, I'm set. I'll have like a steady income after school. This is a good start. And I did that for about 8 months. And what I did was I tried to bring as much digital and like creative media to the publication as possible. So I got on social media. I was posting on Instagram. I think in the 8 months I was there, I like tripled the following, like did really well with that. And I also was taking professional photos for the cover stories and trying to even interweave and get into some video, adding some video pieces to the stories for the online stuff. So I did that, and I didn't necessarily feel like I was reaching my creative potential. Like I was learning things on my own. I was definitely not familiar with videos, so getting to know and do all that stuff was very new, but I didn't feel like I was excelling as much as I could have been. And so through a mutual connection from high school, I was put in touch with a guy who had started a creative media company, mostly real estate. And we had a few meetings and we were talking. This is while I was still at Business West. And, you know, originally they weren't able to bring me on full time yet. So I was like, oh, we'll just do some like part-time stuff. And eventually they said, you know, we want to hire you full time. We really need help. A lot of the real estate stuff, like we really need extra hands on deck. So I think it was February of 2020, maybe. Yeah, February 2020 was right before COVID, was when I was hired at that media company, and they did a lot of real estate.
So prior to that, did you ever do real estate, or was this the first time?
First time. Yep. So they had all the gear, and when COVID hit, the market like really exploded. So he taught me all the stuff, and real estate media, I know you've done it. It's not hard.
It's really not.
It's like you learn the process and you're good to go. You just repeat the process at a different house.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Exactly.
So he taught that to me. I learned really quickly. And then the market exploded and we were like crazy busy. We had like the 2-week shutdown like everyone else did. But then our realtors kind of called us up and they were like, can you guys come shoot this house? Like, is that cool? And we were like, yeah. So we never really had the slowdown. Like what was your experience during COVID?
Well, honestly, that was pretty much right when I was starting my first business.
Got it.
So similarly though, like sure, we had to shut down slightly, and like I was finishing school at that point. That was my last semester of college. So everything was online for school, but as soon as I graduated school, it was just, you know, kind of normal.
Yep.
Like, creative work still needed to happen. The only thing that hindered me specifically was that I broke my ankle during this time period,
God.
or like kind of right after this time period. So
That's brutal.
this kind of leads into where we met.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
So summer of 2021 is when I broke my ankle, and basically all summer I was really bummed because this is when I was done school. I was gonna hit the ground running with the business.
You weren't running anywhere.
I was not running anywhere. Damn. But no, I was not.
You were limping. You were limping, but you were there.
Honestly, I was basically just like chilling in bed. Like I knew I could use my crutches if I wanted to, but I just didn't.
That's brutal.
I was just like, I didn't want to do anything. And
That sucks.
it did suck. I was
That
like
really sucks.
very sad. I don't know. I guess I was depressed. I was just like looking forward to launching this business, and then I just couldn't. And then I felt FOMO, like, you know, everyone else is growing and I'm not. And I was just like, I just really wanted to launch this. Luckily, as soon as I was better, some opportunities arose. And I kid you not, this was probably like maybe 10 days or so after I was physically able to walk again. So I really just went right back to it. Like I shot a wedding with Alex, like pretty much right after I was able to walk again. And then we came to a large shoot where we actually met.
Yep.
So there was, I don't know, do you want to tell the story? I don't really know much, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was just one of the co-owners of the media agency I was working at had reached out to this place called Wequassett. It is like this gorgeous luxury resort, right?
It's a resort, yeah. Resort
in
hotel.
Cape Cod. And he landed like a really big video production, photography, drone gig, like the whole shebang.
Still to this day, the largest project I've been a part of.
It was huge, like multiple days, multiple weeks of shooting, lots of like preparation. We had models and actors and all this crazy stuff. And so
for something this big, you need a lot of people.
100%. And how did you know?
So I think it turned out to be like, not everyone was there every single day.
Yes.
But I feel like there was at least 10 to 12 individuals who helped out at one point.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep. On the
there was a
bigger
big
days.
team.
Yeah.
And so I knew, can we say names?
Yeah. Okay. I think so.
So I knew Anthony Gallo.
Yep.
And I think Anthony was helping out with the production. I don't think he was like in charge of anything, but he was like there to help out.
Yep.
We need even more people. So Anthony's like, I know this guy, Alex. And then Alex was like, I know this guy, Nick. So then he brought us all on.
Amazing. Yeah.
And
so just kind of through
I was very fresh. Like I had my nice camera, so at least I could go capture high quality images, but I still barely know how to use it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I had shot like 2 real jobs before this for like a super small restaurant and a high school. And then it was this. I was like, this is kind of out of my league here, but I'll try my best.
And that's one of the crazy things that's what I love about working with other people is that you can feel so overwhelmed and maybe like you aren't necessarily at the level of other people. Like I also felt I was not there. And I think you just rise to the occasion. Like you become what people need you to be.
I think we did.
We totally did. I mean, I probably didn't help as much as I probably.
Okay, no. So this leads me into a question I had. Like when I do remember like when I first met you, and I was wondering if you remember at all what our first interaction was, and if you had a first impression of me when we met.
I don't remember the conversation, but I remember looking at you and Alex and Anthony and being like, "Oh my God, these guys know so much, and I know
That's
nothing."
hilarious because I thought the exact same thing about you.
I guess we put on a good show, Nick. I guess we put on a good show.
It was all fake.
Yep, it was all fake. Well, that's what you have to. You fake it till you make it, and like I said, you rise up and you just do the best you can. But yeah, that was way above my pay grade.
I just remember you were mostly the photo. You were head of the photos, right?
Yes, that made sense because that was where my comfort level was pretty much.
And I just saw you, doing normal real estate stuff, HDR photos, and I had never done it before, but I knew what it was, and I saw you doing it. I was like, "Oh, you're doing HDR?"
Yes.
And that was probably the first thing I said to you.
Yes. Yeah, that's crazy.
And I was like, "Oh my God, she's like such a professional."
Oh wow, yeah, that's wild. So that was the first time that we met, first interaction, and then I didn't see you again for
literally. We probably saw each other for a total of like an hour. We like had that interaction. We had lunch as a group.
Yep.
And then I never saw you for 2 years.
Never again. But I think I followed you on social media.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't comment on people's stuff. I really should. I really should.
I know. I'm trying to be better about that.
But for the last 2 years, I feel like you and I have that's how we stayed in touch. Because you would like
Yes.
randomly comment or DM me something and like
Yeah.
I would answer.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, that looks cool. Random
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought of you when I did. Like 2 years later, I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I've kept tabs with her like for the last 2 years. Let's see what she's doing.
Yeah. And then we got coffee. Right?
Yeah.
In
So
Lowell.
I was,
Crazy.
I know, ironic. We're shooting this podcast in Lowell.
Crazy.
And that's where we re-met.
Reconnected. Yeah. That's wild.
What did you think when I asked you, like, did you think it was totally random when I asked you to like reconnect?
No, I don't honestly think so because I think as creatives we do stay in touch via social media. Like that's
That's
how
true.
I've
That's true.
experienced. Like that's how I met my friend Aiden. Like he followed me on social media and then he shot me a message and was like, "Can we grab coffee and just like talk about how we can work together?" So I've like kind of experienced that before and I've done that with other people. So
Okay.
it wasn't like totally out of the blue for me. And it made sense because you were about to go on your own. So
Yeah,
and I had just gone out on my own. Like
exactly.
what
So
was it, a year
about a
ago?
year.
Yeah.
That was the reason I chose you specifically because I was going, it was a similar situation you were kind of coming from.
Yeah.
Working with a team or like other people
Yep.
to then branch off fully by yourself.
Yes.
And that's essentially what I was doing.
Oh yeah.
And of course, I had people like Alex who were solo, but they were solo forever.
Yeah.
So they never experienced that initial stuff. So I wanted to talk to you to really connect with someone who knew what I was actually experiencing.
Yep. Who had made the leap, and a leap it was because I had no idea what I was doing.
See, the thing is, I did. Like, I knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, you had.
And I was
'cause
like,
you
all
were in
right,
charge.
I just need to do it again.
Yeah,
but
which is also
better.
scary. Yeah, and doing it your way. And I think for me, what kind of made me want to go out on my own or at least do something different was I mentioned I was doing a lot of real estate at my previous media company, and I felt like again I wasn't really reaching my creative potential because I was doing some fun projects like Wahquasit, nothing like Wahquasit, but non-real estate related. Nothing's
Yeah.
like that ever
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Non-real estate related in between the real estate stuff, but I just felt so like my creativeness had like plateaued and I didn't necessarily feel like I had time to like learn a bunch of new stuff or, because you have a full-time job. It's like, it's a lot.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I think I just wanted to try something new. And it's not that I didn't like the people that I was working with because I met some realtors who I'm still friendly with to this day and who I loved working with. And it was a great experience. But I think I just was like itching for something more. And so had zero idea that I was going to start my own business. But I knew I wanted to do something different. So I like kind of got my resume fixed up and I was applying to jobs and nothing really like,
Yeah, that's crazy to me. I've never applied to a job before.
nothing really hit. And that's wild to me that you like,
I don't even have a
always
resume.
been on your own. You
Yeah.
don't have a resume?
No,
Not even in high school they didn't make you make one?
If I did, I deleted it right after.
That's
I like
crazy.
got a grade for the assignment and deleted it. Like
Yeah.
I've always been an entrepreneur since straight out of college. I've never had a quote unquote real job.
Damn.
Except if you count like high school, I was working at a grocery store. But
That's a good experience.
no, that
teaches
taught
you
me
about
customer
people.
service.
Oh,
And,
God,
like that's
100%.
huge now.
Yes.
Dude, my customer service voice is on point.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to see. I have to hear that. That's crazy. But yeah, I think one of my mentors who I've work with a lot to this day and who I value and appreciate very much. I was telling him my dilemma and I was like,
Right.
I don't know what to do. Like I want to do something different, but I don't know what to do. And he was like, you should just start your own business.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? You're crazy. I don't know the first thing about owning a business. I don't know about taxes. Like, I don't know what the heck I would do. And so that planted the seed. And so I was like, I started to think about it. And my dad owns his own business, very different. He's in telecom, phone line services and stuff. No idea about anything with that. But my family's always been very supportive of me. And he was like, Kayla, if you want to try this, Mom and I are 100% behind you.
Okay, that's nice.
So they were in full support. I know I had my mentor behind me. And obviously, like, it's a big decision. So my boyfriend, Nick, I brought him in the loop and he was like, yes, you should do this. We should try it. Cause I was still living at home with my parents at the time. So I had the luxury of, I don't have to pay rent. Like I don't have, any major bills that I need to pay for. So I was in this position where I was like, I'll just try this out. I'll just take
that's
a
like
chance.
the perfect time to try.
100%. And so I was like, screw it. Let's go. And so I did all the paperwork. I got the business incorporated. I'm an S Corp. So I am K. Ebner Creative Inc. Yeah. It's just like something with taxes. I don't know. I just trust my accountant. My accountants are bomb.
Same.
Yeah. So that's how I literally like never had the intention of starting my own business, but
Interesting.
that's how I ended up.
See, something about me, I just don't like being told what to do. And that sounds bad.
Yeah.
Like I can follow direction. Like if I'm working, with you and you need me to do something, I'll do it. No problem. But when it comes to a traditional work environment of like that hierarchy of boss employee, I hate that. Like when someone thinks they're above me and they're telling me to do tasks, I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, nope, I do not want that. I hate working for someone. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
now that I'm like this, I don't think I could ever go back.
I can't imagine
Yep.
not doing this. Like even if hypothetically my video business failed, I am now just like a business minded person. So like I love seeing other entrepreneurs like start a business and succeed.
Yes.
So like I'm always an advocate for if anyone is thinking about starting a business, I'm like, do it.
Yeah.
Try it.
Yeah. Just try it.
And like I know if this failed, I would start another business and like try something else. Like in the non-creative world. I
Right.
want to one day this will happen, not a one day
Yes.
thing. I will create the best cafe ever.
Oh my God. I like that.
I want to open a cafe, a
Oh my
coffee
God.
shop.
I love that so much. And it's going to be so aesthetically pleasing.
It's gonna be so
Instagrammable.
freaking good.
Yes. Oh my God. I like that for you.
I've had that goal for years.
Wow.
Like it's been in my head forever. And I go to cafes pretty much every week. Like
for research.
pretty much. No, literally. I'll go to a cafe. That's what I was about to say. Like that's what I was getting at. I go to different cafes and every time I see something I like, I literally make a mental note of like, all right, I like that feature. I don't like how they do that. We're not doing that. I'll take note of that though.
Yep. Oh, that's so cool. Are you going to do like just coffee or are you going to do like
No, we'll do
little
pastries.
foods?
Yeah, we'll do everything.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I love that.
It'll happen.
Yep. Manifest. And we do believe in manifesting, but it's a lot of hard work that took us both to get here because the beginning is really scary. And I know you can relate to this of, I was going from somewhere where I had a steady income and I knew it was coming in every single month without fail. And you're going from that to, oh shit, I have to like figure out how to get money.
It's hard. Like it's hard for me to relate to people sometimes because
Yeah.
I've never experienced that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying my income is horribly inconsistent, but I've never had like, all right, your salary is this and you're going to get X amount every 2 weeks,
Yep.
whatever. Like I've never had that 100% consistency ever.
Yeah.
So like
Yep.
I'm used to having, maybe a $14,000 revenue month, but then the next month is like 2,000. Like
Yeah.
I've had that before. That happens. And I'm just so used to that.
100%. Yeah. It's very like it comes in waves
Yeah.
for sure. And I didn't actually pay myself until January of this year. So 2023. So I started the business in April of 2022.
Wait.
I
You didn't pay
didn't-
yourself? So
I didn't
all of
pay
2022, what'd you
myself.
do with that money?
I had money saved up. It was just in my business account because I had all these expenses. I was trying to buy all this equipment that I needed and,
okay.
just get myself off the ground. And I wasn't making a ton of money. So I didn't give myself a paycheck until almost a year later, like 3/4 of a year later.
I guess that makes sense though. Like there are a lot of upfront costs that you need to, all the
This
gear, like
gear is expensive.
everything we're sitting in this room, like probably over the last 6 months, I had to basically reacquire a lot of stuff by starting my own business again.
Yep.
So yeah, those first 2-3 months, I spent
Brutal.
thousands of dollars
Thousands.
on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, gross. It's grossly expensive. Yeah. But you have to invest in the gear to be able to level you up to the degree of where I at least wanted to be, Like
Yeah.
I wanted to have, like I certainly regret a lot of things that I did in the beginning. You know, some of the purchases I made, I would have rather just gone with, you know, the next thing up, you know, the nicer thing. But, and we'll probably do a whole episode on like starting
we'll
a
talk
business,
about gear
but
and stuff.
yeah. But, you know, you live and you learn. And this is not a cheap, I always say like, this is not a cheap hobby. Like,
I mean, it's not.
it's really not. It's expensive, but, you know, you take a chance and it works out, and thank God it did.
I always wanted to do this real. Like, I always see people with their friends, like showing my friends my camera gear and ask them how much it costs.
Oh.
And it's like, here's an SD card. They're like $10. It's like $200.
Uh-huh. It's so crazy. It adds up quick. That's funny. I've never seen those before. Yeah. So we have different journeys, but also a little bit, you know, some similarities. And
And then we kind of intertwined halfway through.
yeah. So we're just really like looking forward to diving into some topics, and, you know, maybe we'll have a guest on in the future. But for right now, like, we have so much swirling in our brain, I feel like, with so many topics we want to cover, that
For sure.
we're just going to try to keep it real and like bring you some insights, and also like share some tips, you know, like help you out.
I'm huge on transparency. So, and like, I want to be blunt.
Yeah.
Like, I might say things on this that some people might not agree with, and I'm okay with that.
100%. Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
talking money, people want to know about money and stuff. I will be fully transparent. I will say numbers.
Yes.
Like, I'm not trying to hide anything.
Right.
I genuinely want to give real insight into my work, how people can level up their work, and just understand the industry more.
Yeah. Because it's different for everyone, and even like different regions. Like when I work in Connecticut, it's so much different than working in Mass. Like there's so much
that's interesting.
to it. Like, yeah, just being in different markets. It's just, there's so many nuances, and we each have different experiences that I think we'll be able to hopefully help at least a few people. So
I hope so.
yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. We're going to tell some crazy stories, and we're going to
Yes.
share some tips, and that's kind of what we want this to be.
Okay, yeah. So in terms of the first episode, I think this one went pretty well.
Yeah, I think we're
Seeing as an hour ago, I was like super nervous about to shit my pants, but here we are. Pretty much wrapping up episode 1 of
Yeah.
The Humble Hustle.
absolutely. Yeah, we're excited to keep this going, and obviously let us know what you think, and send us questions. We have a forum where we want creatives to share their experiences and their stories. So
Absolutely.
we'll have you guys fill that out, and anything you send, we won't say names, we'll keep it anonymous, and we want you to share your experiences in the field, any questions that you have, and definitely follow us on Instagram and Spotify so that you know when we have new episodes coming up, and we'll be posting some of our own, you know, kind of creative stuff on there too, you know, just fill in the blanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So with that
Cool.
being said, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks guys.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
See you in the next one.